Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this time I thought I would run down 10 acoustic albums that I have in my collection, and these are all rather good, as I put in the title of this video. I'm not saying they're brilliant, but I think they're actually very good. Now I decided not to include anything by Bob Dylan or Paul Simon because I've shown a lot of that before, and I'm not going to show the two Donovan albums as well, the first two, which I absolutely love and got into my top 15 of 1965. But these are just 10 that I've decided to pick from the collection. Now they're not fully acoustic, but I would say that the acoustic guitar is the main instrument on the album. So there may be a couple that I may not actually have shown before, I'm not sure. I think I've gone through most of my collection. But we'll start off in no particular order, so they're not ranked at all. So the only female to get on this video is Melanie, and this is Gather Me from 1971. Now I do like Melanie's voice, but I have to be in the mood for it. Sometimes she can really sing nice and smooth and very soothing and beautiful, and then she screams like a banshee 40 seconds later, which takes you by surprise. But she is a really good songwriter, and I could have picked any of her albums really from the early 70s, but this is the one with the big hit Brand New Key on it, and it's also got the extremely catchy Someday I'll Be a Farmer. And you also get one of my favourite Melanie songs on this is called Baby Day, which is excellent. There's a track called Ring the Living Bell on this, which is very gospelly. It's a little bit like the one she did Lay Down with I think it's the Jesse Hawkins singers, I'm not sure, but it was an earlier album. But this is a fine album, and other tracks are Some Say I Got Devil, which in the UK was the B-side of Brand New Key, and that song was actually covered by Morrissey on his California Sun album. Little Bit of Me is a really good opener. Slippin' is a fine song. It's an enjoyable album. So Melanie, Gather Me from 1971, and it got to number 14 in the UK albums charts. Leonard Cohen, and the one I've picked is Songs from a Room from 1969, and this got to number 2 in the UK album charts. So this is, I think, his most successful album. This is not overly melodic, but Leonard Cohen was more a poet at this time than anything, and taking his poetry and trying to write songs around them. But some of these are really good. It does feature, I think, my favourite Leonard Cohen song of all time called Lady Midnight, which got on the greatest hits. Absolutely love it. Bird on the Wire is the most famous song off this, and I'm sure millions of people have covered it. But you also get really good songs like The Partisan and The Old Revolution and The Butcher. And then his acoustic guitar is more strumming more than anything. But Tonight Will Be Fine, I think, is very melodic with a nice acoustic run in it. It's a really good song. So I decided to pick this one over the debut. So that's Songs from a Room from 1969. Cat Stevens. Now the three main ones for Cat Stevens were Mona Bone Jackin, Tifa Tillerman and Teaser and the Firecat. Now Teaser and the Firecat is my favourite, but I'm going to highlight this one, Mona Bone Jackin, because this is the one that's slightly forgotten about, even though it does contain a top 10 hit single with Lady Darbenville, which is absolutely brilliant. I do love Pop Star, which is an acoustic funky song, and Cat's vocals are all over the place, and you know, he stretches them. It's really good. Trouble is an absolutely beautiful little song. I think I See the Light is quite gospelly, and it got on to his Another Cup album from 2005 or 6 when he made a comeback. Other tracks off here, I absolutely love Fill My Eyes. It's probably my favourite track off this, and there's a little section that always makes the hairs on my neck go up. It's really good. Kathmandu is another beautiful song with Peter Gabriel on flute, and then Lily White is Drenched with Strings, but it's an absolutely beautiful song. I love the cover of this as well. I actually love the back cover. So Mona Bone Jackin from 1970, and it only got to number 63. Now I am going to show T-Rex, believe it or not, but Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it's their second album from 1968, and it's Prophets, Seers and Sages, the Angels of the Ages. And believe it or not, this is the only Tyrannosaurus Rex album that did not chart of the four studio albums in the 60s. The first one got to 15, the third one got to 12, and A Beard of Stars, I believe, got to number 21. This didn't chart. This is their second album. This is very good, but it's probably the weakest of those four albums. It starts off with Deborah Arobaded, I can never say it. It's basically Deborah with Deborah backwards stuck on the end of it, and it's a slightly remixed version of the single with a few fade ins, fade outs and phasings and all the rest of it. I prefer the original, but you get beautiful little songs like Stacey Grove is great, and again one of my favourite Tyrannosaurus Rex songs, I think it is my favourite, is Consuela, which I think is magnificent. You also get some really good songs like Oh Harley, Eastern Spell and The Travelling Tradition, which are 3 in a row in the middle of side 2, which are brilliant. Salamanda Palaganda opens side 2, which is excellent as well. But there's one track which is absolutely awful, and it's Seanscough Dynasty, the very last song, and it's just him singing and clapping and that's it, and it's absolute rubbish. But still, it's a really good album, but probably still their weakest. Okay, this one here is actually from the 1980s, from 1987, and it got to number 43, and it is the Proclaimers, and this is the story, and this is their debut album. Now this is, believe it or not, a full acoustic album bar one song, which is the band version of Letter from America, which was a number 3 hit back in the day. The rest of it is all acoustic, and you do get the acoustic version of Letter from America on this as well, which is not as good. Make My Heart Fly, which was the second single, it's actually the third single, because the first single was Throw the Hour Away, which is an acoustic track and it's great, but Make My Heart Fly is fully acoustic as well, but whenever they released it as a single they put a band to it, and I think the band version is better. But you get some really good songs off here, like I absolutely love Beautiful Truth, and I think the vocals on it are absolutely amazing. I do like the cover version of I'm Gonna Burn Your Playhouse Down, which I think is really catchy. Misty Blue is a really good song as well. The Joyful Kilmarnock Blues, they seem to play live an awful lot, which is a really good track. It's a very solid album, and it's up there with their best, and it's their debut. And for 1987, a full acoustic album, as I say, bar one song, it was a bit adventurous for them, really, and I think they pulled it off, so it's a great album. So the Proclaimers, this is the story. Okay, the next one is from 1970, and it is Don McLean's debut album Tapestry, and this is the one before American Pie, and I believe this is as good as American Pie. Now it did get to number 16, but it was 2 years later, after the success of American Pie, that it charted. This is the one with the gorgeous Castles in the Air, a beautiful track full of strings. You re-recorded it in around 1980. It's good as well, but not as good as the original. But the big track off this is And I Love Her So, which was a huge hit for Perry Como. Absolute gorgeous song, but there's other songs off here as well. General Store is a great little number. Magdalene Lane, about prostitutes, I think is fantastic. It's got a beautiful guitar run on it. The opening of it sounds a little bit like something from Camberwick Green, a children's programme back in the 60s, but it's a gorgeous song. Respectable is another great song as well, which is all about corruption, really. And then there's Circus Song, which is an absolutely beautiful little track as well, which is he's just picking away at the guitar and singing very gently, gorgeous. So Orphans of Wealth, I forgot to mention, that's another one of my favourites. Yes, this is a really strong album, and as I say, it's up there with American Pie, and on occasions I actually prefer it. So Tapestry, Don McLean. Okay, the next one I'm not as familiar with, but I've had it in my collection for quite a while, and it is Tom Paxton's Peace Will Come from 1972. Now, Tom Paxton is an American folk singer. The reason I bought this was because I knew the title track, which I absolutely love. Now I know he went on to do a lot of children's songs as well, and I have another one coming up soon that did children's songs, which I'll mention when I get to him. But I played this actually yesterday, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know the track listing off by heart, But there's one song, You Came Throwing Colours, which I think is very good, and it shows how melodic he was and how he would be able to do children's songs, you know, to have that instant melody. Out Behind the Gypsies is another really good track, and there's one called Jesus Christ SRO, which reminds me a little bit of the Byrds, I Want to Grow Up to Be a Politician. It's an enjoyable album. I'm not going to say it's brilliant, but I do enjoy it, and I will be playing this a lot more. As I say, I only bought it for the title track, and that's all I played until yesterday. So Tom Paxton, Peace Will Come. Okay, this is another one that became a children's singer, and it's from 1969, and it's Ralph McTell's Spiral Staircase. And again, I played this yesterday as well, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I do know this one a lot more than the Tom Paxton album, but this is the one that features the original version of Streets of London, which is just fully acoustic. I do prefer the one from 1974, which became a #2 hit, because I think the backing vocals really lift it a lot and make it more atmospheric and actually make it more sad than it is, because it's a very, very sad song. It actually makes you think I'm not in such a bad position as some people. But you get really great tracks like Mrs. Adlam's Angels, which is a beautiful song. Wino and the Mouse is a beautiful little acoustic ditty, really. It's quaint. It's only about a minute and a half long, but it's lovely. The Fairgrounds good track, England 1914. The title track is very, very catchy, very, very melodic. Daddy's Here is a good one. There's one I'm not keen on, Kind Hearted Woman Blues, which is like a blues track, which is it's alright, but it doesn't spoil the album for me, put it that way. I've got a couple of Ralph McTell albums, but I don't have the debut or the third one, which I wouldn't mind getting. I've got a couple of the 70s, which are okay, but this one would be my favourite of the lot that I have. So Ralph McTell's Spiral Staircase. Another one that I am not as familiar with, and I played it yesterday as well, and it's Tim Hardin and Tim Hardin 2. Now this is not fully acoustic either, but it does feature two of his best ever songs. This, by the way, is a double pack, a twofer. There's the debut there. It features If I Were a Carpenter, which is a great song, and Johnny Cash does a really good version of it. Black Sheep Boy, I love it to bits, and Lady Came From Baltimore. I think Scott Walker did both of those. But you get things like Speak Like a Child, It's Hard to Believe, In Love for Long, tribute to Hank Williams. They're all very good songs, but again, I don't know this as well as some of those other albums, so it's very good, but I must play it more. And I'll save this one for last, because this is probably the best of the lot, and it's Van Morrison's Astral Weeks from 1968. By the way, Tim Hardin was from 67 and didn't chart, and the Ralph McTell one didn't chart either. This didn't chart at the time, but it did get to number 55 in 2015, which is how many years? 30, 45, 47 years after it was released. But this is an absolute masterpiece. It is a fully acoustic album, but the highlight of this is not, for me, the acoustic guitar. It's actually the bass guitar, which sounds like an upright bass, and at times it sounds out of tune, but it works so well. The highlights of this are Madame George, which is a masterpiece. I also love Young Lovers Do, which is a more upbeat song on the album. And Sweet Thing is the one that actually got on to his first Best Of Volume 1, which is a fantastic song as well. Cypress Avenue is another great track, but my favourite off this, and his vocals are just unbelievable, is Ballerina. I just absolutely love it. And this is, along with Moondance, one of his best two albums. I'm not too sure which one I actually do prefer, but Astral Weeks gets on my list. Okay, so there's 10 acoustic albums from my collection that I do enjoy. As I said, I don't think they're all fantastic, but they're all pretty good. So that's me for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.